The opinions expressed in this program reflect only those of the participants and are not necessarily those of the sponsors, management, or staff of WTBQ Radio or FST Broadcasting Corporation.
Good morning. You are listening to the Nonprofit Notebook. I'm your host, Anquinette Hayles, and I'm so excited to be with you this morning. I have a very special guest, Miss Antonevia Ocho-Coultes. Did I say it right?
Yes, you did.
Yes, I nailed it. Welcome to the radio show, and good morning.
Good morning. Thank you for having me.
I'm so happy for you to be here, and I feel like we've just been like rolling into things, right? I met you, and then I was like, we got to get you for the wine event, and then you hosted the Greystone Programs 32nd annual wine tasting,
which was so fun and really wonderful.
Wasn't it? Oh my gosh. It's such a treat. And if you've never been to a live auction, I mean, it really
the energy was palpable. Everybody was having fun, and it was for a great cause. So
yeah, it was for a great cause. And thank you so much to Mark Chisholm. He's no stranger to this program as well as this radio station. He is phenomenal.
He was on fire.
He was on fire. And if you did not have the opportunity to check Mark out at our 32nd annual wine tasting, you can definitely check him out at Wine Times in Warwick, New York. So if you head on over there and check him out and give him a shout, just tell him we sent you. So Antonevia, tell us a little bit about yourself. What brought you to the Hudson Valley?
What brought me to the Hudson Valley? I believe it was meant to be in some ways. So I've moved up from Brooklyn, New York, and Brooklyn, I loved Brooklyn. By the time Brooklyn got really cool, there was so much energy, there was so much happening. And then like with everything, once COVID happened, I realized I wanted maybe a little bit more peace and a lot more space. And I didn't...
Emphasis on the space.
Yeah, emphasis on the space. It got a little crazy. And I think we're all still recovering, but I didn't know anything about the Hudson Valley. A friend of my husband's said, hey, why don't you check this out? And the first week that we came here, we knew this was it.
This was it.
This was it. It is so gorgeous. I don't think many people know about it.
No, and I don't know that we want to, I don't know that we want to share the gem of that. No, just kidding.
I get it. But it's not just gorgeous, it's peaceful.
It is.
Driving through just to get where we are, it's just so much peace and so much... just the energy around it is it's everything that we needed, especially with everything that was happening. So
absolutely. And this is such a beautiful time of year. The foliage is, breathtaking, whether you're driving 84 or 202 to Conic State Parkway. I mean, it is
I feel like beautiful. I'm in a painting constantly, and I'm constantly, it encourages me to be more grateful. So there's a gratitude that springs every time I get in my car and I see that picturesque mountain scene it's just, I'm like, thank you, God. Thank you, God.
Yeah.
Thank you, God.
Absolutely.
Because this is a blessing.
Yes, yes. Yeah. Okay, so it was meant to be. You're now in the Hudson Valley. Tell us a little bit about what you do and about your organization.
Right. So I'm with the Voice Training Academy, and I'm a communication and public speaking consultant. And my main mission is to help people find their voice.
Wow. Okay.
So when you think of public speaking, you often think, okay, we're going to teach you to speak well.
Yeah, absolutely.
That is, for me and my mission, a byproduct of what we do. So for me, my goal is to help you come to a better understanding of who you are, where you're aligned. Are you aligned with your purpose? Are you aligned with your mission? And then if those things are in place, then the techniques for public speaking are easy. Because when those other things line up, then you are speaking in your purpose.
Absolutely. So it's almost essentially like when you know yourself.
Yes.
You have a voice.
Absolutely. And you would be surprised at how many of us are so busy. We don't have the time. We don't take the time to go in because we're busy managing. We're busy juggling. And so this really encourages you to look within so that you are living a more fulfilled life.
Absolutely.
And the vehicle is public speaking.
Absolutely. And I'm just reminded because, as you know, Greystone has the expressive arts programming, and that's what we were raising funds for when you hosted the event. And part of expressive art is venturing into other mediums that allow our individuals to find their voice.
Yeah.
And so essentially you are familiar with it, too well.
The more I read up on expressive arts therapy, I was like, oh my God. So that's what I mean by this. It was a no-brainer for me to work on the Greystones, to work on that annual wine tasting because it was aligned with who I am and where I'm moving.
Absolutely.
So it's not just something I was selling or something that it was aligned with who I am.
Yeah, absolutely. And you understand it like firsthand, some of the pitfalls of what individuals or even families kind of struggle when they're, trying to help an individual or help their child or even for themselves, something personal when you're trying to get to that next level and you just don't know what to do or how to do it. You sometimes have to go within, and again, find your voice or hire a consultant.
I know. Well, you need that help sometimes because even let's say we talk with a therapist, I may be guilty of being very logical when it comes to, I'm like, oh, I know what's wrong. I know all the things that's wrong that I need to fix. But sometimes you need somebody else to have that conversation with, to draw it out of you, to help you move, to keep you accountable.
Yes, absolutely. Accountability is huge.
And so my joy is in designing curriculum for companies, for individuals, for teenagers, and what that curriculum, we sit down and we talk about what the challenges are around either the voice or the communication, and then we create an entire curriculum around that, and then we move through it.
Wow.
And to see someone move from being stuck to unstuck is really so joyful, because then you see somebody that is now moving closer to
their goal. Yeah. Oh, wow. So tell us, how long have you been doing this? And before we jumped on the air, we were talking a little bit about how it's a branch from a bigger thing. So let's talk about that as well.
So this is a branch of, so I started a theater company called Ma's Playhouse Theater Company. And I started it in Brooklyn. And it was really I'm originally from Trinidad and Tobago. And so it was really to grow the voices of the Caribbean diaspora here, because I did, there's so much. So part of my background is theater and acting. And I remember after I graduated from my master's, I would go on commercials, or I'd go for interviews with agents, and they would go, oh my God, you are absolutely lovely. But can you reduce that accent? Or can you, and so there was a journey of self-acceptance for me and wanting to see more of just me, because I'm here.
Absolutely.
Am I not worthy to show up in a commercial on Tide?
Right, exactly.
And so it really came about writing stories that felt familiar. And then it expanded just from the Caribbean diaspora to people just who are on the same wavelength with wanting to tell their stories, wanting that creative expression. So wherever I moved, I expanded the notion of where it started to include wherever I was.
Wow. And isn't it interesting how sometimes we think that the problem is it's just with us.
Yeah.
And then when you start to branch out, you realize that, wow, although the problem was like, it dropped into your lap, it's something that others are facing and that they need a solution to as well. And indirectly, you become a solution.
Yeah, that is, and it's so crazy. And indirectly, you find your community.
Yes.
I didn't even know I was looking for one.
Yes.
And you find, once you are stepping more in your purpose, you start to find your people. But if you're not in spaces that you're comfortable, if you're not in spaces where you don't have a voice or you can't use a voice or people don't know what your voice is, then you can't, there will always be this sense of unease.
Yes.
I don't quite belong. The imposter syndrome is through the roof.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Wow. Okay. So you started the Voice Training Academy, and now you found your way to the Hudson Valley. What has been some of the hurdles that you face? Because you're now in a new location. We've talked about finding a community. So let's talk a little bit about that.
So some of the hurdles. So my background's musical theater too, so it's a lot going on there, and I love to sing my pauses. So for me, let's say a hurdle, one of the biggest ones, I would say is finding something. Oh, sorry. I would say it's finding a place where people understand the value of what I do.
Okay.
As opposed to sales. They're like, oh, this is great. You can help our team become better at selling.
Okay. So I'm going to top you right there. So before you jump into that, we're going to go to a quick commercial break. You're listening to the Nonprofit Notebook. We'll be right back.
Greystone Programs is a nonprofit human services agency that provides essential services to more than 600 children, adults, and families living with autism and other developmental disabilities. Greystone Programs also provides residential support in a community environment with 17 homes in the mid-Hudson Valley area. Greystone Programs offers exceptional care and support for a variety of programs and services. To get involved or for more information, visit greystoneprograms.org.
This is The Goose, your play-by-play guy.
This is Paul Helmrich, your color commentator.
The only place you can listen live to Warwick Wildcats football
Is right here on Radio Worth Listening To.
Brought to you in part by the Computer Guy and relocating Ford.
WTBQ.
And we are back. If you're just joining us, you're listening to the Nonprofit Notebook. I'm your host, Anquinette Hayles. And with us this morning, we have the beautiful Antonevia Ocho-Coultes. She is the owner and CEO of the Voice Training Academy. Used to be in Brooklyn, but now the Hudson Valley is where she calls home. So good morning again, Antonevia.
Good morning, Anthony.
Just in case someone has just tuned into the show, they're kind of arriving late to the party. Tell us again a little bit about yourself, and then we're going to pick back up with what we were talking about before we went to break.
Okay, so I'm with the Voice Training Academy, and I'm a communication and public speaking consultant. And my mission in life is really to help people find their voice through public speaking.
Yes. So before we went to the break, we were kind of talking about just finding community, and you were about to tell us a little bit about some of the hurdles that you've experienced.
Right. So it is finding people finding companies that, because what I'm doing is not actually something it's a new path for many companies. So people will understand very clearly communication, communication consulting.
Yes.
And usually what that involves is the outside, like managing outside. But what I am doing is really looking at the internal side of that. How are your communications working within your department? What is your team? How are they communicating? Because that ultimately affects your bottom line.
Absolutely.
More than anything else. So if we can set up a structure, which is what we are able to come in and assess and then help you set up a structure that really allows you to sit back and feel a little bit easy because someone is taking care of the hurdles and the challenges that may come up between your team and the communication process.
Absolutely. And I don't think that we as a people understand how important it is, even when you're a part of a team, to have a voice. There's like the individual voice that contributes to the overall team, but then the team itself has to have a voice when we work together in fulfilling whatever the mission of the organization is. And so it's interesting because, we look at communication as this one-sided thing. Yeah. It's about the outcome and what we project as an organization. But how often do we say, let's look at it in the other direction and kind of talk about the message and the narrative that we're flowing into that outcome.
And even understand, so you talked about expressive arts with Greystone. Similarly, understanding that people communicate in very differently on a team. Right. So if you're a manager and you have a specific way of communicating, you also have to be in tune to how does everybody else on your team communicate and be really in sync with that, because you may not even know why you're losing talent, and it may just be because you don't fully understand the structure that you're managing.
That's a good point. Yeah. And when you talk about like what's the word that they use? Like, it's like a revolving door sometimes, and
Yes.
companies don't understand, like, why can we not keep this seat filled or this position filled? And sometimes it's because maybe either a manager hasn't found their voice and their, a strong footing in leadership, or it could be that the employees feel like they have no voice and they want to go somewhere that is going to allow them to do that. So that's so interesting.
Yeah.
Very
And
interesting.
even, I would say now with the younger generation, they're much more used to, if this isn't working in the first 5 minutes, I'm outie.
Right, I'm out.
500,
That's it.
And there's something that I respect as the end of being a millennial. I really respect about that, because it's nope, I know what I want and this isn't it.
Yes.
And on the other side, I would say we need to have a little bit more for the younger generation, a little bit more, what is it? It's not patience, but you have to have a little bit of grit. So I think each side has something to teach the other.
I think so too. Yeah. And I definitely, I'm seeing that, I have nieces and nephews, and if it's not working for them, they are very vocal.
Yes.
They are very vocal about what works for them, what they want, what they don't want. And I'm just interested to see how that will translate when they come of age and they're able to be in the workforce.
And I think many of them, they're that vocal because they've seen many of us not be vocal. They've seen many of their parents or grandparents stay in jobs that they were unhappy with and complain at home but go to work.
Yes.
So they know that they don't want that for their life.
That's true.
And because if we deal with these communication processes and issues like they are integral to our bottom line, then you are making a healthier workplace.
Yes.
And you're increasing your bottom line.
Absolutely.
And it makes more sense because you lose so much knowledge base when you lose a really talented person that couldn't have a voice.
Absolutely. And honestly, sometimes it's really, it boils down to that. It's sometimes an individual will be willing to take a pay cut.
Yeah.
They'll be willing to commute sometimes an hour, 2 hours. But what people will not bend on is whether or not, they are happy or whether or not they're gelling well in the team. And sometimes if we take a little bit of time to focus on that, we'll keep someone who, obviously will do a really good job for the organization.
Absolutely.
So this is good. This is good. Hopefully those who are listening, you are getting something from this conversation, because I know that I'm enlightened. And it's so great, again, to merge the worlds, right? When you talk about the mission of Greystone, it's about everyone living the life that they choose.
Yeah.
And not many, but oftentimes individuals are looking for a voice. They're looking for their outlet. And families look to Greystone to kind of aid in that development. And so it's wonderful to partner with individuals like yourself, with your organization and other community organizations to really push our mission and our vision forward in order to better serve the Hudson Valley and even the outer parts of the Hudson Valley. One of the things that I always say on this program that I love about the Greystone team is that you could be from Albany, New York. You could be from Brooklyn, New York. Call in and say, I'm looking for services. And someone is so qualified and trained that they will assist you in getting connected to the right avenues, even if it's not Greystone.
Yeah.
And not many people, are willing to do that. And that's one of the wonderful things about us.
Well, even so after I did the wine tasting, I spoke to a friend who uses the services.
Oh, yes.
Their daughter uses the services, and she could not stop talking about how much she loved Greystone Programs.
Wow.
She couldn't stop talking about it. And it was so validating because it meant that your work is being received and the time and the labor, because sometimes you can get really caught up in the day-to-day minutia.
Absolutely.
Of this is the work we do, but then to get that feedback that it is really affecting people's lives, it's a whole different.
And in a great way.
Yeah.
Yes. Okay, so tell us a little bit about what you do with the Chamber now, because I know that you also are with the Dutchess Chamber of Commerce.
The Dutchess Chamber of Commerce. I have really loved being a part. So right now I'm the chair of the business after hours. It's a chair of one, as Frank likes to say. And I really love it because it allows me to explore as a transplant. It allows me to explore the entire area and get to know companies and get to know businesses and get to know areas and really feel like I'm a part of the community.
Yes.
So the business after hours is really great because it changes it changes every month. So this month, October 23rd, it's going to be at the Curry Estate. Mm-hmm. And it's a great opportunity to find out about local businesses.
Absolutely.
And it's a great opportunity to network and find your people.
Yes, and that's how I found you. So
Yeah.
this is the fruit of attending a business after hours is, again, you make these connections. You get to sit down on the radio and talk about those connections and what you do in the community. And again, it's just a really great event and an opportunity to kind of let your hair down, but still, very professional. And, quick shout out to Frank. He does a really good job in Dutchess, and my home. My home is Dutchess, but also there's Heather with the Orange Chamber of Commerce, and then recently I got the opportunity to interview an up and coming Chamber of Commerce. I believe it's Blue Horizon, and they're doing, a really wonderful thing. So if you're listening and you have not connected and you have a business or you're thinking about starting a business, the Chamber of Commerce is always a great outlet to get started and get connected. So that's my quick plug for them. And thank you all for the work that you're doing. Those who I failed to mention that are a part of the Chamber who are really keeping it afloat, all of them. Let's dive back into the Voice Training Academy. So do you have anything coming up? How do people get connected with you? Because that's always the thing. Where do they find you on social? Do you have a website? All that good stuff.
Yes. So the website is voicetrainingacademy.com.
Okay, that's it.
That's it.
You heard it. Maybe say it again in case they were looking for a pen.
voicetrainingacademy.com.
That's it. You want to head over to voicetrainingacademy.com.
Yeah.
You want to check out some of the services that Antonevia offers. Again, it's not just for individuals. You work
it's for companies. It's for teenagers. We have something called the Storytellers Academy for teenagers to really help them get a better understanding of how do you craft a story.
Okay.
We have the debate, which is also wrapped into Storytellers Academy. We really build their skills around debating, and not debating as this currently exists, because can't do everything as I love to switch it up, because right now a lot of the debate that happens in schools is surrounded around answering immediately. And this is more surrounded around compassionate debating. How do you listen without needing to respond immediately? How do you listen, digest, empathize, then speak from that place?
Oh, nice.
Yeah.
Ooh,
also
I like
do
it.
one-on-ones with adults as well too.
Yes.
So we sit down, we discuss what your challenges are, communication-wise, voice-wise. Some people come for accent reduction, although and some people come for challenges that they're having with their voice. Maybe they find it's too monotonous. Maybe people are like, you're too harsh, you're too compliant, you're too whatever critiques they usually come with. We set a plan for them and we move through it.
Now, what about like leaders? Like if there's someone that's interested in like maybe going to the next level, is that something that you work with them on?
So we definitely work with managers and CEOs. We sit down with you. If you need, especially for a nonprofit or a small business, if you need to sit down and work your signature speech to sort of really clearly hone who you are, because many of us know what we do and we do so much.
Yes.
So signature speech allows you to really hone in on who and what you are, what is your mission, so that you are very clear when you're reaching out to the community.
Oh my gosh. Listen, I feel like we should have made this a two-part because I got so many questions. This was so great, Antonevia. I am so appreciative of you. Thank you so much for sharing your light and your gift with the world. And I say that because I feel like sometimes it takes people so long to really find what it is that they want.
Yeah.
But when you find it,
Yeah.
it's amazing.
There's nothing like it.
There's nothing like it. So thank you so much. Again, let's say the website.
voicetrainingacademy.com.
voicetrainingacademy.com. Thank you so much, Antonevia, for joining us today for the Nonprofit Notebook. I'm your host, Anquinette Hayles. That's our time. Be sure to head over to GreystonePrograms.org. We have a raffle going on and some wonderful events coming up. We'll see you next time. Have a great day.